Welcome back, everybody. Automotive Inc. Today I'm not in the office, but we're kind of be talking about some office things. I'm actually at my full-time 9-to-5er. Now, if you guys don't mind smashing the subscribe button, it helps my channel out. Thumbs up and notification bell. So as you guys know, I broke the news first about the GM and Allison split. Now, I've also had some follow-up questions saying people have heard rumors that GM and Allison are staying together. Well, both of those rumors are true, guys. Now, the easiest and best way to explain this is GM and Allison had a licensing agreement that does expire in December. Now, if you haven't seen that video, go over to the channel and check it out. That'll go in depth, okay? Now, the other question is people have heard that GM and Allison are staying together. Now, there is the big difference is between the medium duty segment and the light duty segment. A lot of people think when they see their 2500 and 3500 trucks, that's from any brand, they automatically think this is a heavy duty truck. Well, technically by industry standards, those are actually light duty trucks. The medium duty segment actually talks about the GM version of the 4500, 5500, and 6500 trucks. Now, those trucks specifically kind of look like a tiny little semi. Now, GM made those kinds of trucks for the longest times. The Top Kicks, the Kodiaks, a lot of them were powered by cats. Some of them had the Detroit, I think, in them. But, you know, they made them forever, and then they just stopped. There was no longer a drive for that because pickups then become more powerful, and people could handle that stuff with a pickup versus a truck like that. Well, in 2018, GM then decided to get back in the actual medium duty market. And to do that, they knew that they had to use some other sources. A long time ago, GM made their own semis and big trucks. But as time goes by, it's a little bit easier to outsource a lot of that stuff. Just like most modern RVs, they're made on either a Freightliner chassis or I forget the name of the other one, but there's chassis companies that actually build basically the frame down below, and then the coach would make, the company would actually make the coach piece that you stay in. Well, when GM decided to get back in the market in 2018 for coming out in 2019 with these trucks, they decided to go visit Navistar. Now, Navistar was always basically synonymous with International. International Harvester used to be an agricultural brand, and they had a big division for that, and then they also started branching out, being more into the actual on-road stuff. And they went away from that name at some point and started calling themselves Navistar. Well, as we all know, a name can mean a lot, right? Well, so they decided, I think it was last year actually, to drop the Navistar name and go back to International. Now, to be clear, International was never a one-hit wonder. Their primary thing was agriculture, and then, of course, they branched it very quickly, so it wasn't like a long-term thing. Let's turn that off. As you can see, I'm driving an International bus, and I've driven a lot of International tractor-trailer combos. But when GM decided to get back into this, they went to what is now International again. They went to Navistar and struck up a deal to make the chassis and put everything else together. GM decided not to outsource the diesel, but to power it with the L5D, okay? It's basically a downgraded version of kind of like an L5P. And they needed a transmission to back it. Well, of course, you know, the 10L1000 wasn't exactly out in 18, so they decided that they would go back with the tried and true Allison. So they put in the A1000 or A2000. GM has some different model codes, but it's basically a version of one of those two model Allisons with a PTO takeoff ability. And since then, they've ran that transmission. Well, GM is going to keep going with the Allison 6-speed moving forward in the medium duty market. So why would GM not keep Allison when it came to the light duty, the light duty, the 10L1000? I don't know if a Allison engineer even looked at these plans, or he walked by them in another room and that's why they called it, or if it was purely just a money grab sales technique where they could say, hey, it's an Allison. Because like I've said it before, Allison is one of the gold standard transmissions in the market. It's in everything, and they are doing so well for themselves that, you know, I think at some point GM just decided, hey, we've dropped Isuzu from any part of the current Duramax. we can make our own transmission, right? Well, I've seen a lot of people make pancakes, but some people make some shitty pancakes. So, this may be one of those things where Allison had nothing to do with it. I don't honestly know. There's been some feedback on the other video that basically said that Allison had no part in it whatsoever, and this was just basically a sticker. You know how you can peel a sticker off an Interstate battery and it says Johnson Controls? Well, Johnson Controls makes Walmart batteries, right? Are they just as good? I don't know. But I think that's just what this was GM knew that the customer base felt that warm and fuzzy feeling having an Allison name on a transmission. Matter of fact, I felt that. I've never had a single Allison transmission ever in my life give me any grief. Matter of fact, I've only had one Dodge transmission give me crap, and it was one of my Allsons. My G56, my 68 RFEs were good. My Ford Torque Shift 6 were actually really good. They're actually in most of our gas buses that we use is the Torque Shift 6. So it makes people feel warm and fuzzy, guys. So why didn't GM want to keep this agreement with them if they're going to keep it in the medium duty segment? I think this is all about money. Because Allison knows what they got, right? I mean, you have gold and you have fool's gold. You have 14 karat and you have 24 karat. You always have a better version. Now, if GM made the 10L1000 and they hit a bump in the road and it was having problems, instead of band-aiding it with these, these fixes to the valve body or whatever else the concern is, especially because it's kind of a safety concern, they should have went out to people like NextGen or somebody that's actually work to perfect this issue and correct it and try and make the transmission better, and just say, hey, would you be interested in co-developing it, and we'll slap your name on whatever it takes. Get the customers to do it. But they did not decide to do that. They went out with the 10L1000. It's not doing great. I wouldn't say it's across the board every truck is having issues, but to stay in the medium duty market and run a 6-speed Allison, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, 10 speeds, there was always this numbers game when it came to diesels, and now there's a numbers game when it comes to transmission. How many gears can we slap in this thing? Yeah, it does have some benefit with, keeping everything in the torque range and stuff like that, maybe fuel economy. But really, GM, by taking the stickers off in June, it just blows me away that they're keeping the heavy duty trucks or the medium duty trucks, the ones that are more beefy, but keeping in mind they're rating these 1-ton dually Duramaxes at over 30,000 pounds of towing. You're going to run a 6-speed in that from Allison, and then you're going to put a sticker on this one that you made that's having problems and go with it. I'm not for sure I understand that. So I think it's a money-saving thing on their side, not paying Allison to use a name on the transmission that actually isn't an Allison. That seems like a little bit of false advertising to me. Now, again, if the transmission was great, I don't really care who made it. I mean, honestly, I don't know who makes Kia transmissions, but I haven't seen too many Kia transmissions actually have issues. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you have a heavy-duty truck builder, light-duty truck builder, well-known truck builder. Don't even put the name on it, right? But you did it because it's well-known. Now, I don't think the medium-duty market works for most consumers on the road. That's a big truck to be parking in your driveway, and it may make sense in some. Just like an M2 Freightliner, for those people that are out there hauling monster-sized livestock trailers or something that don't need a semi, but also are on the cusp of a pickup being out of whack. But, yeah, I mean, the rumors are true. GM is going to stay partnered with Allison on the medium-duty lineup, and and continue to make that. And I hope that segment flourishes, because I think it, if people buy those trucks. But to be honest with you, GM's actually really left their biggest consumer market behind. The amount of medium duty trucks GM sells is 1.3% versus their light duty segment. Means everything from half ton to 1 ton, basically, meaning they're leaving out 98.7 of their consumers when they rebadge this 10L1000 as Allison. I don't know why you focus so far on a 1.3% of your sales versus the 98 and have any of that make sense. I mean, I'm not a corporate manager or a corporate boss or a CEO of anything other than my own toilet, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense in regards to go to Allison, get this thing fixed, and in 27
Don't even change the truck. Come out with a true branded Allison transmission, or revamp the 10-1000, or hell, let's just go back to the Allison 6, right? I mean, honestly, my dad's 11, my 13 Silverado, I love that 6-speed. I had no issue, and I got really good fuel economy compared to my L5P. I mean, I averaged 22 to 23 empty, and I would get that here and there in the L5P, but most of the time it was around 17, 18, and I drive very moderately. So, yeah, the rumors are true. I don't think the CEO of GM quite knows her market or their market, or is talking to any. I don't know if any of the hands are talking to any of the hands in there at GM right now. I'm not for sure, because GM, like I said in my other videos, I think has the most well-rounded trucks, but they got to get some stuff straight. And how they recover from this GM Allison split faux pas, I don't know, because I think there's a lot of consumers that are going to feel wronged here. I think they're going to feel like, what do they do, in this situation? So I don't know how you recover other than come out with an apology, just saying, hey, we had a trademark license with them, and we were able to use their name on a transmission. No, they didn't have their hands in it, or yes, an engineer sneezed on the plan, so we considered them to have worked on it. I don't know, but I think they really got to come out with this, especially because they're 98.7% of their customers don't even buy this other version of their trucks that are out on the market. So it's kind of crazy, guys. As always, guys, I appreciate you being here. I'm going to catch you on the next one.